Thank you. I don't know how many of you were here this morning when Lisa made her introduction, and how many of you knew about her serious accident, and she's been in surgery. And when I listened to her this morning making that, I'm certain that she was in a lot of pain, and I thought she did an outstanding job of putting this whole thing together, and really appreciate it. First of all, the last speaker, Peter, which was just fantastic. I'm at the far end of the group that he was talking about. When you talked about way over 50, I'm way over 50. So, but there's another gender group, and there's a gender group here of women that I've got on my panel, and I happen to feel that in our industry, the women are really the movers. And maybe even in the United States, we might even have a female president for the first time next time. So we'll see how that goes. Introducing the panel today, I tried to think of people that have made a difference in what they're doing and continue to make a difference every day when they're in their business. The first speaker is Patricia Figueroa. She's executive director of an organization in El Salvador called Camtex. But I first met Patricia back in the year 2004, 2005, 2004.
I'm also over 50, so.
Also over 50. But in Patricia's case, she helped to transform the industry in El Salvador. That industry was, at that time, there was a very high percentage of the export dollars was from the textile and the apparel industry. In 2004, they were about to lose it. That industry was going to close, and the people were going to go out of work, and they couldn't go back to the fields. Earlier it was an agricultural community, and suddenly they'd gone into the apparel and textile industry. But it was going to go away with when the World Trade Organization did away with the quota system. And Patricia was one of the drivers in the industry that helped to transform the industry. Left there and became the first ambassador to India for El Salvador. Left there and worked for USAID, and now she's back in El Salvador. So she's going to be our first speaker. Jennifer Mason is Vice President of Finance and Controller for Caltex, the Caltex America Group, and for Revman International. And it's part of the same family. And it's an incredibly large and complex organization, almost 50,000 employees in all stages of business, in retail and in textiles and in garments. They make 300,000 pair of jeans a week, and it's an incredibly a large home division, and it's privately owned to make it more complex. And so, in Jennifer's case, I hope she's going to speak about how do you handle the communication in an organization that's that complex and that spread out. And the final speaker is Susie Gantz, and Susie's a dear friend, but she's also such an amazing woman. She's maybe one of the most curious executives that I've ever met. She's always searching, always looking, always thinking about, hey, what can we do? Why should we be doing it? Can we do it differently? And she moved part of her operation overseas when everyone else was moving it overseas, and now she's in the process of bringing some of that back to the United States. I hope she's going to address that as part of hers. So I'm going to run through a couple of slides for you, if I can figure out how to make this wonderful thing work. Wasn't that one? Okay. I tried to give you some definitions of what a trailblazer is. My slides are not as clever as Peter's. Those were really great. I was back there salivating when I watched his. But a trailblazer is a pioneer, an innovator, someone that does something new and blazes a new path. Sometimes they talk about a trailblazer being a Chevrolet. I don't think anyone on our panel would fall into that category. I've already introduced the speakers. I love this quote because it's part, I deal with this in my business and with my clients almost every day. If your business isn't changing and it's changing outside, then you're in trouble. And so it's a quote, and this is what a trailblazer is all about, is just keeping their own mind and their own company active. Okay, so Patricia, you may take this thing over. If I can get the next, I'm not sure where.
We'll see. Well, while we figured it out, first of all, thank you indeed for having me here. I flew in from El Salvador last night, and I was just looking at the audience, and I was telling Walter that probably I'm the only foreigner here. I thought it was a great opportunity, and I seized every opportunity that I have to talk about El Salvador and to talk about the wonderful things that are going on also in the country, particularly during these times that there is also so much bad news about El Salvador. We have so many challenges overcoming violence and other issues. But at the same time, El Salvador is also a country that is characterized by the determination and the commitment of its people to make it succeed. And this is a successful story. And that's why I'm here. And I thank you, and thanks Walter, so that I can share it with you. Walter was part of this team in 2004 when we embarked on this wonderful journey to transform our industry. And actually, we said we embarked, but the reality is that we were compelled to do it. What was happening at the time is there was a lot of change going on in the world of textiles. As Walter mentioned, China was entering the US market quota-free, and we were not ready for it. We were very content in a comfort zone where we had built, basically had created about 80,000 jobs, and all those people were basically doing cut and assembly operations based on the CBI opportunities that arose in the past. So when we woke up, and I said woke up because it's all of a sudden we started facing this challenge. This was the most fundamental change in the textile industry, and we certainly began to feel the effects. By 2005, we had lost about half of the employment, and exports had fallen about 20%. We knew, and it was eminent, that brands and retailers were sourcing from fewer countries and fewer factories. And we wanted to be part of those. We knew we needed to take action immediately. There was a fear that we would lose about 50,000 jobs if that was not done immediately. If you don't mind, because it's going to be there. Thank you. Let's go to the last. The other one. Let's see. So, and it's the one before that one, okay, if you don't mind. So basically, there were several factors going on. At the same time, we were negotiating the CAFTA-DR agreement, and one of the strategies that we implemented in the country and in the region is we really tried to do this. We attempted and succeeded in doing a yarn forward rule of origin, and what our objective was is we thought we could create a shared production platform with the U.S. industry. The U.S. It has been our closer trade partner for many years. I think the industry is strongly linked, and by having this objective, we also knew we needed to transform our industry. Our industry was also only able to deliver very simple operations. If we wanted to be part of this game and also be a winner in taking a very good advantage of the yarn forward rule of origin, we needed to implement a tactical and strategic plan to transform the industry. And this really, as with everything, it's people that make a difference. And it was the capability that we had at the time to bring together all players. The labor, the government, and the private sector that we could, and the academia, so that we could sort of put together a kind of SWAT team that helped us transform the industry quickly, I would say. Our first objective was to become fully vertically integrated, so we knew we needed to attract investment quickly and do it in a very targeted way. The advantage that we really had is the closeness we had to the US, so becoming capable of delivering our goods in a minimal time, it was our best way to compete. We knew we needed to diversify our product, and we did so. We did, from going from very basic operations, we have become an industry that it's very sophisticated. It serves not only the US, but also Europe. It has created what is called a regional synthetic cluster, environmental synthetic cluster, and I will talk a little bit about that. And it's recognized as being El Salvador is recognized as being a very dependable provider to the US, ranking now from 9th to 10th place worldwide as a provider of high value added goods to the United States. I will just point out briefly what we did. We had some strategy pillars, which is
Right.
And thank you. And we started from educating the banking and finance sector. I mean, no one was lending money to our sector simply because it was it was called a maquila. It was not dependable. No one knew where it was heading. So we had to really basically sat with all the financial system and tell them that yes, we could make it. Yes, it was a reliable sector. And then I think one of the most important elements of this strategy was the work we did in identifying within the supply chain what kind of investment we needed to attract to our country. And I would say that we really we selected 5 companies in Brazil, 5 in Korea, 5 in the US, and we went all over the world, knocking those doors. And frankly, it worked. Now we have from very sophisticated fiber yarn production. El Salvador is the largest producer of high-performance fabrics, which are used for sportswears and in beautiful things such as all the yoga wear that we use, and it's sold. Design has been incorporated, so we have now, and when I finish this part of the textile cluster, I will introduce you to some of our young entrepreneurs, designers in accessories and textiles that use a lot of the recyclable materials. And I think that was one of the most important elements that that really made the strategy successful. The other concept that we implemented with Walter's support and a team of other experts that were in El Salvador was the concept of creating virtual vertically integrated companies, which basically will maximizing the geographic location and acting as one company, we will service the demands of the really very, almost the US clients are always more and more demanding, so we needed to do it quick, to do it good, and to do it fast. So it was quality, and that was the best way also to compete with Asia, and so far we have been successful. We have some challenges, and time has come that we have to reinvent ourselves again. Okay. I would like to show you a 2-3 minute video, no longer than that, because I think that will tell you a lot about the cluster and why it's also environmental, because contrary to what many people think, particularly, or at least in the case of El Salvador, this is an industry that applies world-class standards in labor and in the environment, and that's why this is called the environmental cluster of the region. So if we can show that quickly, I'll appreciate it.
In this region, I think Salvador is the only country has this synthetic cluster, all complete.
The first thing was to develop with all the companies in the region. We mapped all the region exactly to define who were the potential customers and the potential partners for this venture.
We are located very close to each other. We work like as if we are virtually same company.
Structure that we have in El Salvador that we can offer a shortened lead time and get product to market much quicker than, let's say, out of Asia or somewhere else.
Within the cluster, we have a mix of factories that are doing different types of garments.
Right now, texturizing yarn. We have big investment from CS Central America. Not only texturing, but doing the POY stages of the yarn, which 10 years ago, that was only a dream.
Our big strength is to offer a full range of performance articles in a very flexible production, which we can serve big customers, big volumes, and also small and medium customers.
We do tops, bottoms, knits, wovens. We do more technical fleece jackets. We've been doing some bra tops, sports bras, athletic wear, skirts, all sorts of different things.
Here at TechSops, we like to leverage technology to the maximum. We have 3D virtual fitting capabilities. We cut electronically with our electric cutter. We spread automatically with tension-free spreading system. We have a hanging rack system which allows us to better process sewing rather than bundling. It's a much smoother flow.
Those yarns being our 100% recycled yarns, Reprieve, our moisture management yarn, SorbTech, or our antimicrobial yarns.
We know we can provide you the best quality and the best service in this region.
In terms of sustainability, we always look for supply chain partners that happen to be, in our case, we're very fortunate, 5-10 minutes away, that pay strict attention to the environment.
We're responsible with the environment. We have electrostatic precipitators that even take the smokes from the fumes and convert them into oxygen, into pure breathing oxygen, even cleaner than what you smell in downtown.
Many years ago, we banished products that were not eco-friendly. We select the best quality dye stuff, chemicals that can be biodegradable, and when we return to the nature, we have pure water.
Well, thank you. And I have 2-3 more slides if I have time.
Yeah, yes, you have time. I'm trying to get them back on.
It's okay. Just go ahead.
If not, I'll just go ahead, because it's what I like to say is that as a result of all of this, also a lot of national investment has happened. We already had a very solid base of textile companies. Those have also grown. At the moment, the industry accounts for 45% of total country exports. What's interesting, and this shows how the strategy was successful, because from those $2.2 million, 66% is full package delivery, which is what we wanted to do. How do we service our clients better? We knew we could only do it if we became fully integrated. The industry is the largest employer it's the largest generator of jobs, so we know we need to take care of it, and also keep the good ranking that we have with the US. During that time that we worked in building those particular clusters, 59 companies came to El Salvador, and they are as varied as Petenati from Brazil, CS from Korea, and Unify and others also from the United States. Well, now certainly the landscape is changing again. We have new challenges and opportunities. And we have the finalization of the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement negotiations. Some of our products will probably hurt, but we are already working at doing new things that, will open new doors, simply because we have one specific advantage that I think is important. As long as we innovate, as we have been doing, we will be, and we keep our ability to deliver the fast runs that they call the fashion and fast runs to the market, I think the country will continue to succeed. So there are challenges ahead in the country, most definitely. And challenges that we need to reduce the cost of doing business, better the trade and investment client. We and I'm sure a lot of you also have read, there is the cost of security, which is but we are strengthening the textile ecosystem with innovation, and certainly developing our human resources is the most important element, and I think this is something that we have been doing. I would love to show the last slide, if we go ahead. And this, although this is not related to my present life in the textile cluster, but I firmly work in a project for USAID. But this is still textiles, although that this is a new breed in El Salvador of very young designers and entrepreneurs, such as Lourdes Mena. Lourdes has been invited to the Oscars and the Grammy Awards several times, and she has been bringing her products. She works with a lot of women in rural areas. She also works with former gang members and designs the most wonderful pieces of jewelry and textiles, particularly accessories. So we, like her, we have several interesting groups coming up. Recently, few designers participated at the New York Furniture Fair, and they are already part of the team of Bernhard Design. We have a girl called Ariela Suster, who has have an alliance with Microsoft, and if you're interested, please look at her textiles. She has the most beautiful bracelets, intelligent bracelets. And the beautiful story about all this is that she works with former gang members in a community and has changed their lives and it's doing wonderful, and her products are selling all over the world. So although this is part of the activity that, some of the activities that we did with this USAID project to support the small and medium development companies, and it's a group of designers, and I thought I wouldn't want to miss the opportunity to introduce them to you. So thank you very much.
You wouldn't, you wouldn't believe how Patricia and the people that she worked with did transform that country and saved the economy in doing so, because you've got the My Fair Lady syndrome that exists in these developing countries, especially. If you take the people off the farms and you put them into industry, they're not going back to the farms. If that industry goes away, then you've got real social problems on your hand. So,
thank you.
If you're on next,
That's okay.
Jennifer, you're on next.
I'm on
Go
next.
ahead. It says
Okay. No, it's fine. Yeah, no, it's fine. Okay. Hi, I'm Jennifer Mason. I'm Vice President of Finance at Redmond International and Caltex America here in the U.S. I'm actually filling in for my boss today, so please forgive me if I fumble through this just a little bit. It's been a really long time since I've had to sit up in front of a group, but we're part of a company called Grupo Caltex, which is based in Mexico. The company's been around about 90 years. They were open primarily as a textile distributor. Their products have grown from yarns and fiber, denim and piece dye fabric, garments, to home fashion products. They employ around 50,000 employees throughout the North, South, and Central America area. Redmond and Caltex are primarily the U.S. arms sales and merchandising group. Redmond is a home textiles company in the U.S. that was been here a little over 25 years. It was purchased for Caltex in 2003. I actually came from that side, so I was kind of new to the Caltex. We have been in Redmond for quite a while, and even though they purchased us, we didn't get quite as involved with the Caltex group. And over the past 4 to 5 years, that's when Redmond's got much more involved. Redmond's primarily licensed brands, and we take them to the market in the home textile, bedding, bath, fashions. We have a state-of-the-art design studio that works with our customers and brands to bring those relevant products to the customers. We have a lot of strong relationships with our customers. We sell primarily to Bed Bath & Beyond, all the department stores, Macy's, Dillard's, Belk's, into the Marmaxx Group, Ross Stores. Also do a lot of business online with the Wayfairs, Overstocks, Amazons. A lot of our brands include Tommy Bahama, Nautica, Vera Wang. We have a very high-end brand now called Aaron by Aaron Lauder. I think, I don't know if you're at the list yet, but but we actually just signed a new brand that we are going to be launching in the spring. It is Ed by Ellen DeGeneres. We're all very excited about that one. A lot of product development and things going on in our company right now. And with that said, we kind of go into our supply chain, and one thing that we've done in our company, we've been growing, and not just growing sales and volume, but we're growing product-wise. Thousands of SKUs, lots of developments. So inside a company, that kind of can create a lot of data problems. Are we being efficient? Are we getting our bang for our buck in our product development? And then you take on top of that, you have the fabric divisions with Caltex that add in thousands of more SKUs. Take the apparel that's selling to Levi and Guess, thousands of more SKUs. So it's a lot of data, and a lot of it's all separated and a lot done manually, a lot of things done with spreadsheets and apps and little things that IT departments have built. So we kind of thought, what do we need to do? And we thought we need some new systems and innovate that way, and we decided we want to buy a PLM system. That's that product lifecycle management. Kind of manages that whole product cycle from concept and development all the way into sales and production and sales. But when we did that, we said we want to do this as a corporate project for this large company that's, has several different divisions and several. So in doing that, that's very hard. Trying to lay out language barriers, you have a lot of different cultures and different personalities. So we thought the best thing to do would be bring in a consulting group. And we started this process really about 2 years ago, which is when we met Walter. He was very big in our deciding to figure out which product, which software package to go with. So in doing that, we had several meetings starting at executive levels and board levels, getting the buy-in that we want to do a corporate software program. But then also going down into management employees, because employees get very scared when you go to change. They think when we're doing a lot of technology investment, they think that means that they're going to lose jobs. So we had to do a lot of communication, a lot of convincing. So it took us about 2 years, or a little earlier this year. I'm looking at Walter because he was part of this whole thing for the last 2 years with us. And we finally got the final approval, started, and really everyone's buying, and we created a lot of teams. We have executive committees that are including executives from our apparel division in Mexico and here in the U.S., even out of some of our Nicaragua offices. We have from the home division and the U.S. division here. So what we're doing is we're starting first with both of our home divisions, trying to match them with the processes and streamline everything. So that's one of the biggest things that we see going on right now is trying the technology to really manage all this development, to manage everything. Some of the things that we see kind of going on in the future is with our internet. We actually do have our own, on the home side, internet store right now called beddingstyle.com. What we see there is we need to do a lot of investment. A lot of things are going there to create a better customer experience from the mobility side, taking your cell phone, the same experience from your cell phone to your iPad, to your desktop, and be able to have that seamless transition. And that's where we see a lot of that market going. So that will probably be one of our next big investments. But that's really where we are. And I mean, thank you all for letting me come. I don't know if you wanted me to talk about communication, but I wasn't really
that's fine.
But you can follow up with a question later. So.
This is one of the most complex corporate structures I've seen. And again, it's private. It's not a public company. And operating in different cultures and different offices that were primarily silos, and then trying to bring them together, and the system that Jennifer's in the process of trying to bring into the company right now will be the first one that ties all the groups together. Susie?
Yeah.
We're back at the beginning of yours, of the Caltex. We need the next one somehow. That's not it. That one, yes.
So good afternoon, everyone. I love the presentation earlier on aging because I've decided situationally gray is going to be the new. So it's situational. That's sort of the context of today. So my remarks are actually are not about me. They're actually a little bit about you. So my remarks actually start with a company that I've been working with for quite some time that was founded in 1899 in downtown Baltimore. It started out as an embroidery company, this wonderful icon of an embroidery company in downtown that's now sort of the west side. So I don't know how many of you watch CNN in that March-April timeframe, but not so far from there. So, and today it's downtown Baltimore, if you haven't been there, is a little bit of an indie community. It's really quite wonderful. So this is where this Lion Brothers was founded by two Lion brothers who brought the art and craft of Swiss embroidery to the United States. But that's not where our story is. That's where the story begins. So today I'd actually like to talk to you a little bit about the difference in people between the technician who focuses on doing the thing right versus the principal. And it doesn't really matter what position you're in. You have the ability, each of us, to be a principal in doing the right thing. So it's interesting, in many of our processes, we focus on doing the thing right. But in fact, as we get older and we're able to make more wise decisions, we have the ability to do the right thing. So today I'm going to talk to you about what I learned from the Girl Scouts. And you may say, what? And I'm going to share with you a little story. So Lion, a lot of firsts. So first embroidery company to really create brand and brand icons. So from Sunbeam bread in the early 1900s to World War I and II insignia, to the first icon and insignia up in space for the astronauts, to the first brand for sports teams. Many throughout our libraries are all about that first, that intersection of identity, affinity, and brand. And when you consider what we do, we actually help people connect with other people, or people connect with communities. Another way of looking at it is we're the exterior decorator of apparel, depending on which side of the chain you want to look at. It can either be the romantic side, or it can be the, okay, we're going to roll up our sleeves and get this done. So our goal and vision is quite simple in this. So a little bit about our goal and vision is to make identity that is meaningful, that is beautiful, that is accessible, and that is functional. Not necessarily in that order. And meaningful is something that we take to heart, because every organization and each person we work with has an identity. And that identity in our mission is to validate that and validate who they are. And for us, our core values, our core brand values are integrity and innovation. And so our trick is to figure out how to do that through product, and how to do that through how we can possibly deliver identity to wherever companies are throughout the world. So a little bit about what we've done. We've taken an old company and we've kind of turned it on its head. And, but along the way, there have been many lessons along the way, from going from craft to process, from process to being part of supply chains, and from part of supply chains back to determining what do you truly value and how are you going to manifest that in what you do. So I wanted to share with you, there's a few of our clients. So the segments we work in primarily are organizations, associations. So remember those Girl Scout things I told you about, those merit badges? That's us. So when you see a sports uniform, those letters, numbers, and other things, player names, the exterior decoration is also done by Lion. When you see a brand like Adidas and other, often those brand logos and symbols are designed and manufactured by Lion, and uniform companies and all sorts of other things. So again, it's this unusual identity, but the unusualness is the personalities that we play with, the speed at which they work at, and how we work with them. Each one of them is quite wonderful. So a little bit about a situation that I'd like to share with you, and how it impacted us. About 3 years ago, we had an interesting situation. We have most of our productions in the Far East. However, we have this wonderful factory in Owings Mills, Maryland, which is the suburbs. And it's been there since the 1950s. I'd say it looks beautifully mid-century modern, but I'd have to probably X out the word beautifully. Large, at one time held a lot of people, like many of the factories in the United States held. And the equipment that we utilized were large looms, 15-yard looms, where you had many people, because again, very labor-intensive business in embroidery. And over the years, it became smaller and smaller and smaller, like many other apparel companies, and shifting production offshore to wonderful places like Central America. And so we had this, what remained, and the remaining was a large building with a rather small workforce, but there was glue, and our objective was to be able to retain that glue while we were transitioning from old technologies to new technologies. A few years ago, and part of the business that we did in the United States was really related to some sort of strategic reason for being there. It was either because of speed or because something was particularly specified to be made in the United States, like something for the US government, like transportation security insignia, or a particular technology, a new technology. And our objective, we had plenty of people that had been with us for 20, 30, 40 years. And so a very loyal workforce that had a lot of tribal knowledge, but also had given themselves through their lives to us. And the government, interestingly, decided to, this is just around the time of sequestration, when they were talking about bringing jobs back to the United States, they decided in their wisdom to shift government contracts from the United States to abroad. And what transpired for us, again, niche business in a larger industry, is that the glue became undone. The glue then became watery, and it became sand in terms of how the things that we would produce in the United States were in question. And at that time, I have a Scot as my number 2 and a Brit as my number 3, and the 2 guys, and I said to them, I really would like to find a way to retain domestic manufacturing. It's really important to who we are, for all the reasons that we shared with you. And they said, oh, being not from the United States, there was an interest in a business model, but there wasn't really the same kind of attachment, if you will, in an emotional way to retaining jobs. And so we stayed up nights. And the reason we stayed up nights is because we were trying to get the thing right, but it was the right thing to do. And at the end, interestingly, what we saw in this is that if we looked at this differently, instead of top down, here's what we had to fill. If we looked at this absolutely differently and turned it on its head and said, we looked at this from a bottom-up perspective, we didn't ask, how could we recreate what was there? We said instead, if we looked at this from a small entity up, what could be done? And as we looked at the possibilities, we began to strip away the layers of things that had emerged over the decades. And what we created was a new model, and the new model was essentially one that was taking man and machine working together in a more automated, very small footprint way, very granular, if you will. Not unlike if you think of other modes of manufacturing or digital manufacturing or other modes of business that are small, kind of think of sand that grows when you sort of spin it with water and press the bottle. And what we created was a micro facility. We felt that, similar to other things, it needed a language of its own. And we said that if it was a facility, people would have this expectation that it was this large, big kahuna. But instead, we wanted something else. We wanted something to be efficient, we wanted it to be effective, we wanted it to be lean, and we wanted it to be nimble. And so we went to our client, the Girl Scouts, and we looked at things that we could redesign for domestic manufacturing where there would be high value attached. And in that, we looked at their very, very basic products, things like American flags, things like numerals, those troop identity, things that could be replicated easy as our proof of concept. So it took about a year to figure this out, maybe a little bit less, in terms of a financial model, a business model, a product model. And at the end, we went to them and we asked, would you be interested? And they too were looking for a new model with regard to what this might look like. And in January 2015, we opened this gorgeous new micro facility. Today we call it the Easy Bake Oven of manufacturing. It's white with lime green poles, and it's the coolest place you've ever seen because it has with it, not only is it manufacturing oriented, but there's research and development attached to it. And attached to research and development is a learning center where the public can come in and learn about domestic manufacturing. We felt that it was really important, if it was going to be meaningful, accessible, functional, and beautiful, to be consistent with those values in a way where we could also design social change. And I love that, whether you are using design as an agent for social change, or you're using manufacturing as an agent for social change, or you're using fashion as an agent for social change, each of you have the ability to take your talents, your resources, your role, and consider how you too can be an agent for social change. So I share with you how the Girl Scouts has made us an agent for social change. A couple of quick lessons learned. First of all, looking at the world instead of top down from bottom up has given us all sorts of white spaces for innovation. We look at the world differently, we always have, but again, looking at things small to large instead of large to small has been really a wonderful lens. Second is really taking the right thing to do to heart. For us, here's its manifestation. For you, I'm sure it's expressed in a lot of other ways. We talk about different forms of sustainability. For me, it's economic sustainability is so key in terms of really having stability in our cities and countries and other, that environmental to me is wonderful, but if people can't sustain themselves, then it becomes quite difficult to then express the other forms of social and environmental sustainabilities. Number 2 is profitability. These models are profitable. It's not just we're doing this for social good. These things are sustainable for the future. The third is fun. It's an awful lot of fun to defy gravity, so I give you a good challenge to defy gravity. Figure out your own space about how you're going to do it and how you're going to be the innovator that you can be. And it's not just about products. It's about models of business. And it's not just about models of business. It's about models of how you want to approach doing business. And so, so I close with sort of the challenge to us was consider doing the thing right or doing the right thing. I challenge you in your own way to explore that in terms of what it means and have some fun along the way. Thanks.
So I think we're out of time, but just to summarize, I've tried to put together a panel that had 3 executives in completely different types of industries and marketplaces. One of them was trying to transform a country and the efforts that it took to do that. And now she's having to go through it another time in a different set of conditions. The other one is dealing in a very complex organization that's multicultural, has many, many different products, all of them, and trying to figure out how to communicate in that environment. And then finally, one of them was facing a tremendous challenge of onshoring, bringing business back into the United States and creating it here, and how to do that in a clever way, starting with believing in what you're doing and doing the right thing. Thank you very much, panel. I think we're out of time.